Ethan Cole had never imagined that his journey across the stars would end like this. A lone human walking across the dusty red plains of a planet no map had ever shown him. The wind cutting through his suit as if it wanted to push him back, his steps heavy, his breath loud in his own ears. His ship nothing more than broken metal scattered far behind him, smoke rising into the alien sky, and yet ahead of him he saw a light. Not the cold flicker of fire or the sharp glare of machines, but a soft glow, warm, pulsing, almost like lanterns made from living things. The light came from a village, though to call it a village was strange, for the structures were not built of stone or wood, not even metal. They were grown, shaped from giant hollow plants, their walls curved, breathing faintly as if the houses themselves were alive. The roofs glowing softly like giant fireflies frozen in place, and Ethan felt both wonder and dread as he walked closer. Wondering who or what lived inside as he entered the edges of the settlement, the first figures appeared, tall and thin, there. Skin pale green with streaks of silver running like veins of metal. Their eyes large and unblinking, reflecting the lantern light. And though they had no mouths visible, they made sounds. A low hum that vibrated in Ethan's chest, like a choir singing without voices, and yet he understood somehow, not words. But intent, curiosity, judgment, suspicion. One stepped forward, taller than the rest, wearing a robe of woven leaves that shimmered like glass, and raised a long hand with 3 fingers, pointing at Ethan, then at the village, then at the sky. And though no clear language passed between them, Ethan felt the meaning welcome. Stranger, or perhaps you were expected. The villagers surrounded him, but not with weapons. Instead they bowed slightly, tilting their heads, their eyes glowing faintly brighter, as if feeding on his presence. And one of them finally spoke, its voice strange, layered with echoes, yet carrying words in broken human tongue, words that struck Ethan like cold water. Human, we hire you. Tomorrow you begin. Ethan froze, his mind racing. Hire me, he thought. For what? Why would aliens offer a job to a man who had just crashed on their world? His suit was torn, his supplies gone, and yet they acted as if they had been waiting for him. As if his arrival was no accident at all. He tried to ask, his voice hoarse, what job, what do you want? But the alien only tilted its head, repeating softly, tomorrow, tomorrow, tomorrow. The hum of the villagers growing louder until it filled the air, till Ethan felt dizzy, his thoughts swimming, as if the very sound wrapped around his mind and pushed him deeper into their circle. They guided him. Not forcefully, but with a kind of silent command, leading him toward one of the glowing homes. The doorway opening like a flower, petals curling back to let him inside, the air warm, filled with a sweet yet metallic scent, walls alive with faintly beating veins of light. And inside a mat made of woven fibers that shifted as he touched it, almost like skin, waiting for him to sit, to rest. Ethan sat, though every part of him screamed to run. But where would he go? The planet stretched endless outside, his ship in ruins, no rescue coming. And so he listened as the tallest alien entered. Its eyes burning faintly blue now, and it spoke again, each word slow, deliberate. Broken yet clear human work here. Village need you, only you. Tomorrow begin. Ethan's chest tightened, confusion heavy. Only me. Why? What kind of work? What could he do here that they could not? And yet the alien offered no answer.
Only silence.
Only the weight of its gaze, until finally it whispered in that layered voice, no humans survive long. But still needed, the words chilled him more than the wind outside. No humans survive long, meaning others had been here before him. Others had been given the same mysterious job, and none had lived. Yet still these beings insisted he was needed. Insisted that tomorrow he would begin. Night fell on the alien village, though the sky did not darken fully. Instead, glowing ribbons of light danced across the heavens, like endless auroras, green and violet waves, casting strange shadows on the living homes. And Ethan lay awake on the mat that breathed beneath him, his mind circling the same thought. Why would aliens hire a human? For what purpose? What task so strange and dangerous that none had survived? And why did they seem certain he would not refuse? The hum of the village continued, even in the night. a low chant carried by every home, vibrating through the ground, echoing in his bones, and Ethan realized it was not simply sound. It was a call, a rhythm that made his heart beat and sink, forcing him to feel part of their circle, unwillingly drawn into something vast and hidden. He closed his eyes but could not sleep, for in the faint glow of the walls, he saw shapes move. Not shadows, but small figures, shifting within the living fibers, as if something inside the walls watched him, waiting, studying, whispering in voices too soft to understand, and when he sat up to look closer, the shapes melted away. Leaving only pulsing veins of light, morning came quickly, though he had never truly slept. And as the first alien sun rose, casting golden fire across the plains, the villagers gathered outside, their bodies glowing brighter now, humming louder. The entire village alive with expectation, and the tall, robed figure appeared again at his doorway. Whispering to words that made his skin crawl, "Duty begins," Ethan stepped outside, the weight of every gaze pressing against him, fear clawing at his stomach. And still no one told him what the job was, what task awaited, only that it was his duty, only that he was needed, only that no human had survived long. The ground trembled faintly as the villagers led him toward a massive structure at the center of the village, larger than the rest, its walls breathing heavier, its glow deeper. As the doors opened like giant jaws, Ethan caught the first glimpse of what lay within, shapes moving in shadows, sounds like heartbeat and whispers merging into one, and in that moment he knew, whatever this job was, it was not work. It was a sentence. And tomorrow had already begun. The doors of the great living structure closed behind Ethan with a sound like a slow inhale. The walls pulsing faintly as if the building itself were alive, his heart beat fast. His mind raced with questions, the villagers outside still humming. Their voices a low chant that pressed against his skull. He felt trapped, pulled deeper into their ritual, yet he had no choice but to move forward. Inside the chamber the air was thicker, heavy with a metallic scent that clung to his tongue. Light came not from torches or lamps, but from the very floor. Glowing veins spreading like roots beneath his boots, each pulse of light timed with his heartbeat, or perhaps forcing his heartbeat to match its rhythm. He could not tell which, but it frightened him deeply. At the center of the room stood a pedestal grown from the ground itself, its surface smooth and black. On it lay an object that seemed alive, a sheet of light, not paper, not metal, not anything he had seen before. It shifted and breathed, glowing faintly with each pulse, and Ethan felt drawn to it, though every part of his body screamed to stay away. The tall robed alien entered behind him, its eyes glowing brighter than before, voice layered with echoes that filled the chamber. As it spoke human, "Here is contract, you read, you bind, no refuse, no escape. Circle begins now." Ethan swallowed hard, stepping closer. Staring at the strange contract, he expected words, symbols, something he could not understand. But instead he saw shapes forming in the glow, changing as he looked, until suddenly he recognized them. Not alien runes, but letters, English letters, shifting into words written in his own language. The message was short, cruelly simple. "You agree to serve. Your life is tied. Your duty is balance. Your breath is the seal." He shook his head, his voice trembling. "I never agreed. I never signed anything." But the alien only stared, repeating softly, "You already here. You've already chosen." The contract pulsed brighter, and Ethan felt something in his chest tighten, his heart racing, beating faster in rhythm with the glowing words, his breath catching as if pulled from him. And he stumbled backward, clutching his chest, realizing with horror that the contract was alive, and it was binding itself to him through his heartbeat. The alien raised its three-fingered hand, pointing to the glowing sheet, and whispered, "You." Seal with breath. No pen, no hand, only life, only pulse. Ethan gasped, refusing, shouting, "No, I won't do it. I don't know what this is." But the chamber itself vibrated with the hum of the villagers outside, their chant growing louder, pressing against his skull, making his knees weak, the air itself pulling his breath away, drawing it toward the contract. He stumbled again, falling to one knee, his lungs burning. The words on the glowing sheet shifting, now saying, "You cannot leave. You cannot refuse. You cannot survive without us." Panic filled him. He clawed at the floor, searching for escape, but the doors had sealed. The walls pulsed like veins alive. And unbreakable, the alien stepped closer, its eyes glowing blue fire. Whispering sign now or heart stop, Ethan gasped, his vision blurring, his chest aching as if a hand squeezed his heart. The contract glowing brighter, demanding his breath. And in that desperate moment, he inhaled sharply, a reflex to live, and exhaled into the glowing sheet. The contract absorbed his breath, glowing brighter, then sinking into the pedestal, disappearing. And instantly the pain in his chest eased. Though his heart now beat in perfect rhythm with the pulsing floor, tied, bound, trapped. The alien lowered its hand, the glow in its eyes dimming slightly, and said softly, "It is done. Tomorrow work begins." Ethan staggered to his feet, anger and fear boiling inside him, shouting, "Why me? Why humans? What are you making me do?" But the alien only tilted its head, silent, and then whispered, "You balance. You anchor. Without you all falls." He tried to demand answers, but the chamber trembled. The hum outside growing louder again, the villagers chanting, the walls vibrating as if celebrating. And Ethan realized with dread that his signing was not just an agreement, it was a signal. The village itself alive and aware that he was bound. The alien moved aside, the doors opening slowly, light from outside flooding in. And Ethan stumbled out. The villagers gathered, their eyes glowing bright, their hum shaking the air. And all bowed low as he emerged, their whispers merging into one. Sound that chilled him? Manker, anchor, anchor? He shook his head, backing away, shouting, "I'm not your anchor. I don't even know what this means." But they only kept bowing, their hum growing louder, filling the air until he could barely hear his own thoughts. And the tall alien whispered behind him, "You were chosen, you cannot run, no humans survive long, but still you needed." Ethan staggered back to the living home they had given him, the mat breathing beneath him, his chest still aching, his breath heavy, the hum of the village never ceasing. And in the glowing walls he saw again those shifting shadows. Small figures pressing against the living fibers, whispering softly, their voices almost like children. He pressed his hand against the wall, feeling warmth, feeling the faint thump of something alive inside. And the whispers grew louder, though he could not understand the words. He felt the intent, hunger, need, recognition, as if the things inside the walls knew him. Called to him, waiting for him. He pulled his hand away quickly, his mind spinning, trying to piece it together. A contract alive, tied to his heart, a job no humans survived, villagers chanting anchor. And strange shadows in the walls whispering his name. What kind of work was this? What kind of duty had he been bound to? Night fell again, the sky alive with violet ribbons of light, the hum of the village deep and endless. And Ethan lay awake, heart pounding in rhythm with the floor beneath him, every beat reminding him he was no longer free, every breath reminding him the contract lived inside him. And when his eyes drifted shut for a moment, he saw visions, not dreams. Visions of cocoons glowing deep beneath the village, cocoons with shapes inside, shapes that looked too human. He woke in a cold sweat, gasping, the mat beneath him pulsing in rhythm with his chest, the walls whispering softly. And in that moment, he knew whatever job awaited him tomorrow, it was tied to those cocoons, tied to the whispers, tied to the shadows that already knew his name. The contract had sealed his fate. His life was no longer his own. Although he wanted to believe there was escape, some way out. The truth pressed on him heavier than the alien air. There was no running, no refusal, no freedom. Tomorrow, he would begin his work. The village would reveal what it truly wanted from him. And as the hum rose louder in the dark, the whispers from the walls turned clear for the first time, forming words that froze, his blood-welcome anchor, "Your duty begins with us." Morning came with a strange silence, the hum of the village softer now, almost like it held its breath. Waiting for him, Ethan opened his eyes to find the walls of his living shelter glowing brighter than before, the mat beneath him pulsing in rhythm with his chest, reminding him with every beat that the contract still lived inside him. He rose slowly, his body heavy, his thoughts restless. His eyes drawn to the doorway where faint shadows gathered, villagers standing outside, their tall forms still, their large eyes glowing, waiting for him. They did not speak. They did not move, only watched until he stepped out. And when he did, the hum returned. Soft at first, then stronger, like a wave carrying him forward. The tall, robed alien stood at the center of the village. Hands raised, its voice layered and cold as it spoke human. Today, you begin. First task, first duty. The circle waits. Ethan's throat was dry, his voice hoarse. He wanted to demand answers. To ask what this task was, why they needed him. Why? No human had ever survived, but the words died in his chest, his heart tightening, contract pulsing within him, forcing silence, reminding him that refusal was not possible. The villagers parted, creating a path leading toward the far edge of the village, where a wide opening in the ground yawned like a mouth. Stairs grown from stone, spiraling downward, glowing faintly. Breathing like veins of fire beneath the earth, they guided him there. Never touching, never speaking, only humming, only watching. And Ethan's every step felt heavier, the air thicker as he descended, the walls alive with light. The sound of his own heartbeat louder in the underground silence. At the bottom, the chamber opened into a vast cavern, walls glistening with strange resin. Glowing blue veins spreading like rivers across the ceiling, pools of liquid reflecting faint light, the air warm and humid. And in the center rows of enormous mutes, cocoons stood, each taller than a man, translucent, pulsing faintly, alive. Ethan froze. His breath caught in his chest, because inside the cocoons he saw shapes, curled forms, bodies shifting slightly, their silhouettes disturbingly familiar. Some with long limbs, some with small round heads, some with features too close to human. Villagers lined the walls of the cavern, humming low, bowing toward the cocoons, their eyes bright, and the tall alien stepped beside Ethan, whispering in its layered voice, "Here is duty, here is balance. You stand among the unborn, you anchor their form. Without you they twist, without you they break." Ethan shook his head, horrified, his voice trembling. "What do you mean, anchor? What do you mean they twist?" The alien raised its hand, pointing to one cocoon near the center. Its glow dimmer than the rest, cracks spreading across its surface, the shape inside twitching violently. And it whispered, "Without human breath, without human heart, they become monsters, they consume." Ethan stepped closer, unable to look away, the cocoon cracking louder, glowing red. Suddenly it split open with a wet sound, fluid spilling onto the floor, and from inside a creature tumbled out. Half-formed, its skin dark, its limbs too long, its face stretched in ways that were wrong, its eyes burning with wild hunger. The villagers recoiled, their hum sharp, fearful, and the alien elder pointed at Ethan, shouting, "Anchor it, breathe. Balance or it destroys." Ethan stumbled back, panic rising. "What do you mean breathe? What do you mean balance?" But the contract inside his chest pulsed painfully, his lungs seizing, forcing him forward, dragging breath from him. And as he gasped in terror, the creature's eyes turned toward him, locking on him, and it froze, its twitching slowing, its limbs shaking but stilling. The contract pulsed harder, Ethan's chest aching, his breath heavy, and the creature's body shifted, its skin smoothing, its limbs shortening, its face reshaping into something closer to human. Not perfect, not normal, but no longer monstrous, and it collapsed to the floor, breathing weakly. Eyes closing, the villagers exhaled as one, their hum soft again, relief flooding the cavern. And the elder turned to Ethan, its voice low. "This is your work. This is why human needed. Your breath, your heart, your presence, anchor the young. Without you they twist, without you they consume. No humans survive long, but still, without you, all die." Ethan staggered, his chest burning, sweat running down his face, his mind spinning with horror. He looked around at the dozens of cocoons, each one shifting, each one waiting, each one needing him, and the truth struck him like a knife. His job was not to build, not to work, not to lead. to keep these creatures alive, to hold them steady. With his very life, to be their anchor, he shouted, his voice echoing, "I can't do this. I won't. This isn't a job, this is slavery, this will kill me." But the elder only stared, its eyes cold, whispering, "You cannot refuse. The contract is inside you. The circle holds you. If you stop, heart stops. If you leave, all burn." Ethan fell to his knees, his body shaking, his lungs aching with every breath, the contract pulsing stronger, already binding him tighter to the cocoons. Already pulling his life into theirs, the villagers began humming again, walking around the chamber, bowing to the cocoons, ignoring his cries. As if his struggle meant nothing, as if his pain was expected, ordinary, a part of their endless ritual. Hours passed in the cavern. Ethan forced to stand near cocoon after cocoon, his breath drawn, his chest aching, his body weakening, each creature shifting inside until his presence calmed them, until they settled, until they lived, and each time he felt his strength drain further, the contract taking more, tying him deeper. When he finally stumbled back to the surface, dragged by the villagers, the sky above had already shifted, the auroras painting the heavens with violet waves, the village glowing softly, humming low like a heartbeat, and Ethan collapsed onto the mat inside his living shelter, too weak to move, his mind haunted by the sight of the cocoons, by the sound of cracking shells, by the truth of his task. He stared at the breathing walls, at the shadows moving within, hearing the whispers. Clearer now, whispers that sounded like young voices, calling to him, reaching for him, saying his name, pleading anchor, stay. He covered his ears, shaking, whispering to himself that he had to find a way out, that he had to escape. But in his chest, the contract pulsed hard, and in his lungs, his breath burned, and deep beneath the village, the cocoons pulsed with him, tied to him, feeding on him, waiting for him, and his sleep finally dragged him down into darkness. He dreamed of endless cocoons stretching into infinity, all filled with shapes that turned their faces toward him, whispering in unison, "Anchor, anchor, anchor. Without you we twist, without you we consume. Without you, none survive." When he awoke, the hum of the village was louder than ever, and he knew the first task was only the beginning. The true horror was yet to come. The night after his first task was long and cruel. Ethan lay on the breathing mat with his eyes wide open. Every time he closed them, he saw cocoons splitting, creatures half-formed, eyes glowing with hunger, voices whispering his name, his chest burned with every breath. The contract inside him pulsed like a parasite, feeding and binding him deeper. The whispers in the walls had grown louder, the shapes inside more clear. Small figures pressing against the glowing fibers, their voices childlike, almost human, calling anchor, anchor, stay with us. Ethan covered his ears, but the sound came from inside, from his own chest, from the contract that tied him to them. When dawn came, the villagers gathered outside again, their hum low, expectant, the tall, robed alien waiting at his door. Its eyes glowing faintly blue, its voice layered as always, soft but heavy with command. "Human, today you learn, today you see truth. Duty is not only task, duty is reason." Ethan rose, weak, his legs trembling, but he followed because the contract tugged at him, each step timed with its pulse, dragging him forward. He wanted to resist, to run, but the weight in his chest was too strong. The alien led him past the glowing homes, past the heart of the village, toward a hidden path carved between two tall ridges of living stone. The path twisted downward, narrow, damp, lit only by faint veins of light in the rock. The hum of the villagers faded behind him, replaced by a deeper sound, a slow thumping. Like drums buried in the earth, the further he went, the louder it became, until the air itself seemed to vibrate. At last the path opened into a vast cavern, unlike anything Ethan had seen. The walls covered in endless cocoons, stacked high, stretching into the dark above, their glow pulsing in rhythm, hundreds maybe. Thousands, each one filled with shifting forms, some small, some larger, some disturbingly human. Ethan's breath caught, his chest tight, his knees weak, his voice trembling, whispering, "What is this place?" The alien elder stepped beside him, its robe shimmering with faint light, its eyes burning brighter than ever, its layered voice echoing across the cavern. This is root, this is womb, this is why Ethan shook his head, horrified. Thousands of cocoons, each one tied to him, each one needing his breath, his presence, his life. He shouted, "No, this is impossible. I cannot do this. No one can." But the elder only tilted its head, whispering softly, "Not impossible. Necessary." Ethan staggered forward. Touching the nearest cocoon, feeling warmth, hearing a faint heartbeat inside, the shape curled within, twitched, its face pressing against the translucent wall. And for one moment he saw a child's eyes staring back at him, wide, unblinking, not alien, not human, but something in between, and it whispered his name through the barrier. He stumbled back, panic rising, shouting, "What are they? What are you making?" And the elder answered, "They are our children, but not ours alone. They are both part of us, part of you. Without human anchor, they fail. They twist. They become hunger." Ethan froze, his mind reeling, part human, part alien. Hybrids grown in cocoons deep beneath the village. His chest tightened with realization. His job was not just to balance them, just to breathe life into them. His job was to make them possible at all. Without him, without humans, they could not exist. His voice broke as he shouted, "Why humans? Why us? What did you do?" And the elder's voice lowered, heavy with something like sorrow. "Long ago we tried alone. Long ago we failed. Our line broke. Our children did not live. Then first human came. First anchor and balance returned. Since then, always human needed. Always human bound." Ethan shook his head violently, refusing to believe, shouting, "You kidnapped. Humans, you used them. You killed them." The elder only whispered, "Not killed, bound. They gave life. They gave balance. They gave circle. Without them all, end." Ethan's chest burned, the contract pulsing harder, as if to silence him, his breath drawn shallow, his heart aching. The cavern itself vibrating with his anger, and he realized the contract was not just inside him. It was inside the entire cavern, linking him to the cocoons, feeding them from him, tying him deeper. The elder stepped closer, its glowing eyes fixed on him, whispering one sentence that froze his blood, "You are not first human. You are last." Ethan staggered, whispering hoarsely, "What do you mean last?" The elder raised its hand, pointing to the far side of the cavern where a broken cocoon lay collapsed, empty, dark, and beside it the bones of something not alien, not hybrid, but human. Ethan's stomach twisted, bile rising. He stumbled back, his voice breaking in horror, whispering, "No, no, this can't be real." But the elder's voice echoed, "Those before you failed. Their bodies broke, their hearts stopped. But you must not fail. You are last." The cavern filled with whispers, not just the elders, not just the villagers, but voices from the cocoons themselves, thousands of soft murmurs, young voices, calling "Anchor, anchor, anchor," their tone pleading, hungry, desperate. Ethan fell to his knees, clutching his head, the voices too loud, the contract pulling his chest tight, his breath burning, his vision spinning. He shouted, "Stop, stop, stop," but the whispers only grew louder, filling every corner of the cavern, until he felt like he was drowning in their need. The elder bent low, whispering in his ear, "You see now, you know secret. Cannot leave, you cannot refuse. Without you they twist. Without you they consume. Without you we end." Ethan closed his eyes, shaking, tears burning his face, rage boiling inside him. But no matter how hard he fought, the contract pulsed steady. The cocoons whispered his name. The cavern beat like one living heart, and he realized the truth. The village had no choice. The aliens had no future without humans, and humans had no escape once taken. As the villagers carried him back through the narrow path, as the glow of the cocoons faded behind him, Ethan's chest still ached with every beat, and the whispers still echoed in his mind. He now knew the secret of the village, and it was worse than he had ever feared. He was not just a worker, not just a servant. He was the last anchor of a dying race, the final breath between balance and destruction. And deep inside, he knew the truth would kill him. Ethan did not sleep that night. He sat on the breathing mat with his back pressed against the wall, the whispers around him constant, the shapes inside the glowing fibers pressing closer, their voices soft, pleading, calling his name, calling anchor, anchor stay. His chest burned with every breath, the contract pulsing heavy inside him, each beat like a chain tightening around his heart. The elder's words haunted him. You are not the first, you are the last. The memory of bones beside the broken cocoon seared into his mind. He knew then that every human before him had died here, drained, consumed, bound to a duty they never chose. And he felt rage boiling in his chest, stronger than fear. When dawn came and the villagers gathered again, their hum low, their eyes glowing, with expectation, Ethan rose, but did not follow. His legs steady, despite the burning in his lungs, his voice rough but firm as he said no. I will not do this. I will not go to the cocoons. I will not be your anchor. The hum faltered. The villagers froze, their eyes dimming for a moment, silence heavy across the village. Then the elder stepped forward, its robe shimmering faintly, its layered voice low but sharp, human, no refuse, no escape. The contract binds you. Ethan clenched his fists, his chest aching, but his voice louder now. I don't care about your contract. I don't care about your circle. You will not kill me like the others. I will not let you use me. The villagers began to hum again, louder, their voices pressing against him, shaking the ground, but Ethan shouted over them, his anger breaking free. What happens if I stop? What happens if I refuse? You said the circle breaks. You said the village burns. Maybe that is what should happen. Maybe you deserve it. The hum turned sharp, painful, the villagers stepping back in fear, their glowing eyes flickering, and then the ground itself trembled, a deep rumble rising from beneath, the earth shaking, cracks, splitting the soil at the edge of the village, a sound like thousands of claws scraping in the dark. The elder turned its burning eyes toward Ethan, its voice urgent for the first time. You fool, you break circle, you call them, you bring death. Ethan staggered as the ground split wider, and from the fissures poured creatures. Not balanced, not anchored, hybrids twisted and malformed, their limbs too many, their jaws splitting with rows of sharp teeth, their eyes wild with hunger. They screamed with a sound that tore through the air like metal ripping. The villagers panicked, their hum turning frantic, forming lines, raising crude weapons grown from living vines. But Ethan saw terror in their faces, saw their fear of the very creatures they claimed to create, and he realized with horror that without him, this was what every cocoon became. The twisted hybrids swarmed, clawing, tearing, their bodies moving with unnatural speed. Villagers fell screaming, their glowing eyes dimming as teeth tore into them. The elder raised its hand, shouting in its layered voice, Anchor them, breathe, or we all die. Ethan's chest pulsed with agony, the contract dragging at him, pulling him toward the hybrids, his lungs burning, demanding he breathe, demanding he anchor. But Ethan staggered back, shaking his head, shouting, No, I will not. I will not. The hybrids turned toward him then, dozens of wild eyes locking on him, their bodies twitching, their screams changing. Not hunger now, but recognition. They rushed him, claws reaching, jaws snapping. But as they neared him, they froze, their limbs shaking, their bodies convulsing, the contract pulling harder. Forcing Ethan's breath into them, he gasped unwillingly, his lungs seizing, his chest burning, and the creatures shifted before his eyes, their skins smoothing, their limbs reshaping, their monstrous faces bending toward something almost human. And they collapsed to the ground, twitching but no longer feral. The villagers gasped, their hum soft again, relief washing through them. But Ethan fell to his knees, coughing, his body trembling with exhaustion, his anger still burning. He shouted at the elder through ragged breaths, You see, this is why I will not do it. This is not balance. This is slavery. You are using me like a weapon. The elder's voice was calm, almost cold. Without you all consumed, without you all burn your anger. does not change truth. You are anchor, whether you choose or not. Ethan rose unsteady, his fists tight, his eyes blazing. Then maybe I will burn this whole place down. Maybe I will end your circle. If I cannot escape, then none of you will survive either. The villagers recoiled at his words, their hum breaking into sharp discord, fear in their glowing eyes, whispers. Spreading like wildfire, human threatens circle, human threatens end. The elder's gaze hardened, its voice like stone. If you rebel, we bind you deeper. If you fight, we take your breath. If you kill, your heart stops. You cannot win, human. But Ethan's anger only grew, his voice raw. Maybe I cannot win, but I can make sure you lose. Maybe I am the last, but if I fall, if I break this circle, then your race ends with me, and maybe that is justice. The ground trembled again, distant roars echoing from beneath. The villagers screaming in fear, the elder raising its hands, trying to calm them, but Ethan saw the truth in their eyes. For the first time they were afraid of him, not just of the monsters, not just of the cocoons, but of him, the human, the anchor, the last. He staggered back toward his shelter, ignoring the cries, ignoring the elder's commands, his chest aching with each step, the contract burning. But inside he felt a spark of defiance, a fire of rebellion. He would not be their tool, he would not be their anchor. He would find another way, even if it killed him. That night the hum of the village was broken, uneven, the villagers whispering in fear, the auroras above, twisting red instead of violet, the air heavy with tension, and Ethan sat on the mat, his eyes fixed on the pulsing walls, the shadows pressing. Closer, the young voices whispering, "Anchor, anchor, don't leave." He whispered back through clenched teeth, "I am not your anchor, I am not your slave, I am human, and you will not break me." The contract pulsed painfully, trying to silence him, but Ethan only pressed his hand harder against his chest, his jaw tight, his mind burning with fury. Tomorrow he would rebel again. Tomorrow he would push harder. Tomorrow he would find a way to turn their own secret against them. The village could hum, the cocoons could whisper, the elder could command. But Ethan Cole had chosen. He would fight, and if the circle had to break, he would be the one to break. The next day, began with silence heavier than the night before. No morning hum rose from the villagers, no soft chanting, no glowing eyes in harmony. Instead, there was fear in the air like smoke. The villagers stood apart, whispering, glancing at Ethan with nervous stares, some hiding their faces, others clutching their vine-grown weapons tighter. Ethan walked through the center of the village, his steps slow but steady, his chest still burning from the contract's pull, but his eyes sharp. He saw how they looked at him, not as an anchor, not as a savior, but as a danger. A spark that could burn their fragile circle to ashes. The elder appeared from the mist, its robe glowing faintly, its eyes burning like two suns, its voice layered, strained with weight, human. You break circle, you bring shadow. If you continue, nothing survives, neither us nor you. Ethan clenched his fists, his jaw tight, then. Give me a choice. Give me a way out. You say I am bound. You say I am anchor. But I never chose this. If you want me to continue, then let me choose, the elder's layered voice hissed. Choice is illusion. Circle demands. Without anchor, no life. Ethan stepped closer, his voice rising. Then what happens if I refuse? What happens if I tear the circle? Apart with my own hands, will you kill me? Will you risk losing everything? You call me fool? But maybe I am the only one who sees the truth. You are not protecting life. You are trapping it. The villagers gasped at his words, their glowing eyes flickering, whispers spreading faster. Human threatens circle. Human questions elder. Never before had anyone spoken against the elder, never. Before had anyone dared? The elder raised its hand, and the whispers died, its voice steady but sharp. If you want choice, then prove worthy. Prove you hold will stronger than shadow. Ethan narrowed his eyes. What do you mean? The elder stretched its long arm toward the fissures at the edge of the village, dark smoke rising from them, deep roars echoing. the elder's layered voice cold. Beyond lies the rift, the place where failed cocoons crawl, monsters without anchor. They grow stronger each dawn, they press closer each night. Only anchor can hold them back. If you refuse circle, then go, walk into rift. Survive, and we release you. Fail, and your body feeds the shadow, the villagers gasped. Their hum breaking, whispers of doom rushing through the air. No one survives the rift, no one returns. Ethan's chest tightened, his breath shallow, but inside. He felt the fire of defiance burn hotter. He turned to the elder. His voice steady, though his body trembled. Then I will go. I would rather face your rift than be your prisoner. The elder's burning eyes did not flicker. It only said, then go, human. But know this, even if you return, the circle follows you. You cannot escape its mark. Ethan ignored the words. He turned and began walking, his steps heavy. The villagers watching in stunned silence, their whispers a storm behind him. Traitor, anchor, rebel, fool, doomed. But in their fear, Ethan saw something else, a spark of doubt in their glowing eyes. A question they had never dared whisper. What if the elder was wrong? What if the circle was not eternal? The path to the rift was twisted, the air heavy, the sky above shifting from violet to red to black, the ground cracking under each step. The whispers from the cocoons in the village fading, replaced by low roars from the earth. Ethan's chest burned harder, the contract pulling, dragging him back, urging him to return, to obey, but he forced his legs forward. As he neared the rift, the ground split wide into a chasm, red light glowing from below, smoke rising. Shapes shifting in the dark, eyes glowing, jaws snapping. Creatures half-formed crawling upward, claws scraping rock, bodies twisting in unnatural ways. Ethan's breath caught as he saw dozens of them, no hundreds, all pressing closer. There. Voices a mix of scream and cry. He felt the contract pulse violently, his chest seizing, his breath pulled against his will. The circle screaming at him, anchor, anchor, anchor. But he pressed his hand against his chest, his jaw locked. No, I will not, the creatures sensed him. Their eyes turning, their bodies twitching, they rushed the edge of the rift, claws clattering. Screams filling the air, Ethan staggered back, heart pounding. Every instinct screaming to breathe for them, to anchor them, but he clenched his teeth. He would not obey. He would not give in. The first creature lunged, its body massive, its jaws wide. Ethan rolled aside, grabbing a jagged rock. Swinging with desperate strength, the rock slammed into the creature's head, cracking bone. The thing shrieked and collapsed, twitching. But behind it more surged, claws reaching, teeth snapping. Ethan ran along the edge, leaping over cracks, swinging the rock again and again, blood and smoke splattering, his chest burning, his lungs screaming. But he refused to anchor, refused to breathe for them. Refused to give them life, each swing fueled by rage, each gasp by defiance. Hours seemed to pass in moments, his arms numb, his legs shaking, his body drenched in sweat and blood, the creatures never stopping, always more climbing, their screams. Endless, but Ethan did not fall. He did not breathe for them. He fought with every ounce of strength left. His vision blurring, his body breaking. At last the ground shook violently, the chasm roaring, the creatures convulsing, their bodies collapsing, their screams fading, the red light dimming, and silence fell. Ethan fell to his knees, gasping, trembling. But alive, the rift quiet behind him, the creatures gone. His body broken, but his spirit unshaken. He had walked into the rift and he had survived. When he staggered back into the village, the villagers stared in disbelief. Their hum silent, their glowing eyes wide. Never had anyone returned. Never had anyone faced the rift and lived. Whispers spread. Human lived, human fought, human not bound. The elder stepped forward, its burning eyes locked on Ethan, its layered. Voice low, you should not stand. No one survives rift. You are wrong. Ethan lifted his head, his voice hoarse but strong. Maybe I am wrong. Maybe I am doomed. But I survived. I fought. And I did not anchor. I did not obey. And that means I have choice. that means I am free. The villagers gasped, their whispers louder. Anchor free, anchor chooses. Doubt spreading like fire through dry grass. The elder's eyes flickered with something Ethan had never seen before. Not certainty, not command, but fear. And Ethan saw it clearly. The elder's control was breaking. The circle was trembling. And for the first time in countless years, a human stood not as servant, not as anchor, but as rebel. Ethan staggered forward, pointing at the elder, his voice rising with fury. You told me no one returns. You told me no choice, but I returned. I chose, and if I can break your lies, maybe I can break your circle. The villagers murmured louder, their hum collapsing, their glowing eyes shifting, some turning toward Ethan, others shrinking back from the elder. The village itself trembling. Under the weight of uncertainty, Ethan raised his bloodied hand, his voice raw but fierce. I am Ethan Cole. I am human. And I will never be your anchor. If you want me to bow, then kill me. If you want me to breathe for you, then chain me. But if you let me live, I will fight, and I will end this. The elder's burning gaze faltered, its layered voice echoing hollow. You bring death to us all. Ethan stepped closer, his eyes blazing. Or maybe I bring freedom, the villagers gasped. The ground trembling again, the auroras above burning red. The cocoons whispering louder, anchor, anchor breaking, anchor choosing, and Ethan stood tall, despite. His broken body, his chest burning, his fists tight, his eyes locked on the elder, the choice made. He would fight until the circle shattered, or he would die breaking it. The sky bled red as if the heavens themselves were torn open. The auroras twisted above the alien village like burning rivers of fire. The cocoons whispered louder than ever, their voices crashing together. Anchor, anchor, anchor breaking, anchor choosing, anchor free. The villagers trembled in fear, their glowing eyes flickering like candles caught in a storm. Ethan stood in the center, his body broken from the rift, his chest burning with the contract's weight, his arms shaking, yet his eyes blazing with fire. He had refused the circle. He had fought the rift, and he had returned alive. And now he faced the elder who had bound him. The elder's form glowed brighter, its robe of living vines pulsing with light. Its voice layered with anger and fear. You are not meant to exist outside the circle. Your mistake, shadow-given flesh. You bring collapse. Ethan's voice cracked, yet held steady. Maybe I am mistake, maybe I am shadow, but I am human. I make my own choices. I decide my own path. Not you, not your circle, not your whispers. The villagers gasped, their hum faltering, doubt rising, whispers spreading. If anchor can choose, if anchor can live, if elder is wrong, the elder raised its arm. The ground splitting beneath its feet, black smoke pouring from the cracks. Monstrous shapes writhing within the failed cocoons. The broken creatures, crawling upward, their claws scraping stone, their screams filling the air. The elder's voice thundered. Then you will prove your choice in death. Human, you will drown. In shadow and circle will heal without you. The creatures lunged forward. Dozens of twisted forms, jaws snapping, eyes burning with hunger. Ethan staggered back, his arms trembling. But he held the jagged rock he had carried from the rift. His only weapon, his only shield. He raised it high, his voice raw. If you want to break me, then come, but I will not bow. The first creature struck, claws swiping. Ethan ducked low. Swinging the rock into its chest, bones cracked, black ichor. Spraying, the beast collapsed. Another leaped from behind. Ethan rolled aside. Gasping, swinging again, smashing teeth and bone, his breath ragged, his vision blurred. But he kept moving. He refused to fall. The villagers watched in silence, their hum gone, their fear turning into awe. No one had ever fought like this. No one had ever stood against both shadow and elder, yet this broken human did, with nothing but stone and will. The elder's layered voice roared, enough, and the creatures froze, their bodies trembling, their eyes flickering. The elder stretched its arms wide, pulling the shadows together, weaving them into one, a massive form rising from the ground, taller than the trees. Its body shifting and writhing, claws like blades. A maw filled with endless teeth, its roar shaking the air. Ethan stumbled back, his heart pounding, his chest burning like fire, but he did not run. He raised the rock tighter in his grip, his voice hoarse. "You think shadow scares me. I have lived with shadow all my life. Fear does not own me. You do not own me." The giant beast lunged, its claws tearing into the ground. Ethan dodged, the impact shaking the earth. Dust and fire rising, villagers screaming, the elder's voice echoing. "You cannot kill shadow. You cannot escape circle." Anchor dies here, Ethan's mind raced, his body too weak, the rock too small. He could not fight shadow with strength alone, but he had something else, something no alien, no elder, no circle had. His will, his stubbornness, his defiance, his human refusal to obey. He dropped the rock, his fists clenched, his voice breaking the silence. "I will not anchor. I will not breathe for you. I will not be your chain. And if shadow wants me, then let it come." The beast lunged again, claws flashing, teeth gnashing. Ethan stood his ground, the contract in his chest pulsing, tearing, trying to force him to breathe, to give life, to anchor. But he resisted. He fought the pull. His body convulsing, his heart screaming, yet his spirit unbroken, the air cracked like thunder. The ground shaking, the beast stopped mid-lunge, its form flickering, twisting, collapsing. The shadows tearing apart, the whispers from the cocoons. Rising into a scream, anchor free, anchor breaks, anchor ends. The elder staggered, its glowing eyes flickering. Its voice trembling for the first time, impossible. No anchor breaks circle. No anchor resists shadow. Ethan fell to his knees, gasping, blood running down his arms, his chest burning with fire. But he raised his head, his eyes sharp. "Then I am not your anchor. I am human. And humans break chains." The ground cracked wider, light bursting from beneath, the cocoons shattering. Not with screams, but with silence. The whispers vanishing. The auroras above, burning white, the circle unraveling, the villagers fell to their knees. Their glowing eyes dimming, their voices crying out, "Free, free, free!" The elder screamed, its form breaking apart, vines burning, light shattering, its layered voice fading into nothing. "You doom us all," and then silence. The village stood in ruins, the cocoons gone, the elder vanished. The shadows dissolved, the air clear for the first time. Ethan collapsed to the ground, his chest seared with pain, his breath shallow. But the weight of the contract gone, the circle broken, the villagers slowly rose, their bodies trembling, their eyes no longer glowing, their voices no longer humming. For the first time in memory, they were free. They looked at Ethan with awe. With fear, with gratitude, their whispers soft, "Human broke circle. Human freed us." Ethan forced himself up, leaning on the jagged rock, his body shaking, his voice hoarse. "I did not free you for thanks. I did it because I had no choice. I did. Because I refused chains. Now you must live without them. Make your own path, your own choices. No more anchors, no more circles." The villagers bowed their heads, some weeping, some smiling, some silent, but all understood. Ethan turned. The sky above clear now, stars shining bright, the world open, his body broken, but his spirit fierce. He walked away from the ruins of the village, each step heavy but free, his path his own. Behind him the villagers whispered, not anchor, not servant, but legend, human who broke circle. And Ethan Cole walked into the horizon, no longer bound, no longer prisoner, but free, human, and unbroken.